Hello, welcome. I'm Martine Croxall. The tenuous ceasefire between the US and Iran is fraying, with the US forces attacking radar sites and Iranian missiles targeting US bases. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in Iran says it's fired 7 ballistic missiles targeting US bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. It's threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz to gas and oil exports. US Central Command says all missiles and drones were either intercepted or failed to reach their targets. Earlier, the United States military attacked radar sites on Iran's southern coast. These are pictures released by CENTCOM. Well, the war is now nearing its 100th day. Speaking at an event in the US state of Wisconsin, President Trump said it may be ending soon.
We're at a point we're going to come out of Iran very quickly, and it's going to be very strong, one way or the other, whether it's a piece of paper or the very tough way, okay? The very tough way is maybe the easier way.
Mohammed Taha is from BBC Arabic and has a roundup of the latest developments in the region.
In general, we saw a night that is, the war returned back with kind of full power in the Middle East. We saw Israeli attacks on the southern of Lebanon and on Gaza, and also, as you mentioned in your introduction, the tense situation around Strait of Hormuz, where there were 4 Iranian drones were intercepted in this area, and also some raiders, as the US said, in some of the islands in the Strait of Hormuz, and the retaliation from Iran was attacking Ali Salim air base in Kuwait, attacking parts of the 5th Fleet in Bahrain, and causing also some warnings to American ships in the Gulf, and also even warning airplane carriers, American airplane carriers in the Gulf, and pushing them down to the Pacific Ocean. So we saw massive military operation in the region overnight.
Mohammed Taha. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, the army says that several of its soldiers, including an officer, were killed in an Israeli airstrike on a marked military vehicle in the south of the country. Our correspondent Lina Sinjab has the latest from Beirut.
Israel has not commented on this attack yet, but this is not the first time that army soldiers come under fire throughout this war in the south. But the timing of this attack is really critical. It comes one day after the US and Lebanon and Israel announced a partial conditional truce supported by the Americans, and it really leaves little confidence in the army to be able to be deployed in the agreed pilot zones to monitor the situation, because they'll simply be under fire either from Hezbollah or from Israel.
There was a ceasefire deal agreed between Israel and Lebanon, but Hezbollah has rejected it. So where does that leave everyone?
Well, exactly. It leaves us where we're seeing, because yesterday there were still airstrikes in the south and 18 people killed. Today there's this strike on the Lebanese army, but also to remind our audience that this partial truce that was agreed mainly to stop hostilities and spare the capital Beirut from any attacks. It also provides that Hezbollah should stop any attack on Israel before Israel continues to stop, any attacks on south of Lebanon. And this agreement also doesn't say anything about the withdrawal of Israeli troops from south of Lebanon. And that's exactly why Hezbollah is using this against the government and saying that they're rejecting this deal categorically. The issue is, for the Lebanese government, they feel that they're trapped between either, failure and defeat and by agreeing to this agreement, or suicidal for the whole country. The government wants a gradual approach to end these hostilities and find, a lasting solution for the south. But Hezbollah is blowing everything in the air with their rejection of this deal.
Lina Sinjab in Beirut. Dr. Rowena Binti Abdul Razak is a lecturer in Iranian history at SOAS University in London. I asked her about the current state of the ceasefire.
Well, at the moment, clearly, there is no ceasefire in place. And I think this sort of speaks to the fundamental problem that the negotiations between the US and Iran had, was different sort of goals. Abbas Araghchi has said that he's not looking for a ceasefire, but rather a long-term peace. And at the moment, we're seeing these volleys, exchanges of missiles between the US and Iran attacking US bases in Kuwait and Bahrain and so on. And part of me wonders if this could be actually a negotiating tactic on both sides.
In what way?
To,
How would that help them?
Well, at the moment, as we know, the peace talks, the ceasefire talks kind of broke down over the weekend, and it was quite fragile to begin with. So now a little break sort of allows both sides to kind of remind each other what they're capable of. Iran showing that it's able to still limit the kinds of ships that go through the Straits of Hormuz, and the US is able to still, attack Iran if it needs to. So it also sort of, shows what the other side is capable of. And I think, from Trump's statements, we can see that they're still very much open to negotiating with Iran. So it's very possible that these exchange of missiles kind of, brings more to the negotiating table, shows what kind of stakes are actually there.
In fact, President Trump has indicated that he would welcome or be happy to speak to the Iranian supreme leader. But what do we know about the whereabouts and the well-being of the supreme leader? Because he was caught up in those airstrikes in which members of his family were killed at the very beginning.
Exactly. And this is also another fundamental issue, is that key Iranian leaders are at threat. They do face a security threat from potential US and Israeli strikes, and so that's probably one of the reasons why we haven't seen the new supreme leader since his appointment from taking over from his father. So it's a bit of a mystery, to be honest. But I think the Iranian government has shown that it's kind of able to still maintain power, maintain a campaign against the US without him actually showing up. So I think the US is trying to sort of push Iran to reveal Mojtaba, but at the same time, I think they're not going to do this at this point.
Israel has been attacking Lebanon following rocket fire from Hezbollah. How does that part of the conflict affect the prospects of a settlement between Iran and the US?
Well, Iran has been very clear that it wants to tie what happens to Lebanon with what happens in Iran, to Iran. So Iran has shown that this is not just a bilateral issue, it's actually a regional issue. So by tying Lebanon's fate to Iran's fate, it sort of shows that they're not looking for just a simple bilateral solution. It really shows that Iran is looking for a regional solution for its allies, especially Hezbollah in the south of Lebanon, and for Lebanon in general. Yeah. So clearly they want to make it not just a bilateral issue, but a regional one.
Dr. Rowena Binti Abdul Razak from SOAS University in London.